Good times. 1974 made America laugh while showing what it meant to survive the Chicago projects. But behind the roaring studio audience lay a history marked by bitter creative wars and losses that arrived far too soon. Tonight, we return to the building that once shook with laughter, to uncover the profound price this iconic cast paid once the spotlight of the 1970s faded. Penny Woods is the vulnerable, deeply mistreated neighborhood girl who is eventually adopted into a loving family, bringing a beautiful spark of hope and youthful innocence to a world that had been far too harsh to her. Janet Jackson, born May 16, 1966, was 11 when she joined the series in 1977, and she gave Penny a sweet, heartbreaking vulnerability that immediately stole the heart of the entire audience. Penny is cautious, incredibly loyal, and determined to protect her new family, growing from a scarred child into a confident young girl under the family's care. What makes her memorable is the effortless, screen-stopping allure Jackson brought to the set, subtly proving that true strength can blossom from the deepest hardships. Today, at 60 years old, she stands as one of the ultimate global icons in music history, having built an empire with multi-platinum landmarks like Control Rhythm Nation, 1814, and Janet. Her fierce independence, boundary-pushing choreography, and raw artistic honesty earned her a permanent place in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. Her long, active career redefined pop culture for a generation. Penny Woods endures because Janet Jackson made youthful resilience. James Evans Sr. is the iron-willed, hard-working patriarch whose fierce pride and absolute devotion to his family make his daily battles against unemployment feel deeply honorable. John Amos, born December 27, 1939, was 34 when the show premiered in 1974, and his towering physical gravity and booming voice made James a deeply magnetic leader. James is independent, intensely focused, and completely protective of his children, declaring his household rules with an unyielding finality. What makes him brilliant is that Amos didn't just play a sitcom father. He embodied a weathered professional whose absolute refusal to accept charity made his dangerous hustle for a better life look magnificent. Amos died on August 21, 2024 at 84 from natural causes, concluding one of the most rugged and globally successful leading man careers in television history. Long before his memorable time in the apartment, he achieved permanent immortality as the adult Kunta Kinte in the historic masterpiece Roots, and starred in classics like Coming to America and Die Hard 2. His sharp face and quiet, tough guy intensity made him a favorite of dramatic and comedic directors worldwide for decades. James Evans endures because John Amos made working-class leadership feel physical, quiet, and deeply commanding. J.J. Evans is the loose, drifting artist whose flamboyant swagger, quick wit, and easy humor turned daily poverty into a beautiful game of artistic expression. Jimmie Walker, born June 25, 1947, was 26 when the series commenced in 1974, and he injected a confident, charismatic energy into the household. JJ is relaxed, fiercely independent, and completely comfortable, shouting his signature catchphrase, "Dynamite," to break any household tension, operating as the comedic motor of the entire show. What made him memorable was the high-energy physical comedy Walker brought to the set, transforming a young painter's hustle into a legendary pop culture phenomenon. Today, at 78 years old, he maintains a highly active, decades-long career as a premier stand-up comedian, touring theaters and clubs across the country with his distinct brand of sharp, observational humor. His expressive face, wide grin, and deep understanding of comedic timing kept him a beloved favorite of mainstream television audiences for generations. J.J. Evans endures because Jimmie Walker made teenage confidence look incredibly attractive, smooth, and fiercely entertaining. Florida. Evans is the grounded, deeply spiritual matriarch whose mountain wisdom and absolute refusal to bow to despair inspire her family to stand up and face every crisis with faith. Esther Rolle, born November 8, 1920, was 53 when the epic series opened in 1974, and her weathered face and quiet delivery gave Florida a deeply moral, weary dignity. Florida is faithful, long-suffering, and stands firmly by her husband and children through every layoff, holding the fragile household together with a natural warmth that won the immediate sympathy of the audience. Rolle played her with a serene dignity, proving that true strength doesn't need armor to be seen. Rolle died on November 17, 1998 at 78 from complications of diabetes, concluding a monumental historic life built on absolute acting excellence and civil rights activism. A legendary stage actress and a founding member of the Negro Ensemble Company, she won an Emmy Award for Summer of My German Soldier and starred in landmarks like Driving Miss Daisy and Rosewood. Her unexpected creative stands behind the scenes reframed her legacy for a new generation of performers. Florida Evans endures because Esther Rolle made everyday parental fear feel reasonable, human, and beautifully resilient under pressure. Willona Woods is the sharp-tongued, ultra-stylish neighborhood best friend whose impeccable wardrobe and smooth manners hide a deeply protective maternal heart. Jeanette DuBois, born August 5, 1932, was 41 when she brought her sharp features and polished dramatic energy to the set in 1974. Willona is independent, watchful, and completely quick-witted, eventually stepping up to adopt Penny and shield her from abuse with a fierce, unconditional devotion. DuBois played the role with a magnificent, high-energy malice toward any injustice, turning a supportive neighbor into an unforgettable psychological force for good. DuBois died on February 18, 2020 at 87 from natural causes, leaving behind a highly distinguished, multifaceted Hollywood legacy that stretched far beyond her time in front of the camera. A multi-talented performer, she co-wrote and sang "Movin' On Up" the unforgettable theme song for The Jeffersons, won 2 Emmy Awards for her voice work on the PJs, and was a prominent co-founder of the Pan-African Film and Arts Festival. Her sharp intellect and vibrant spirit made her a highly respected figure behind the scenes. Willona Woods endures because Jeanette DuBois made wounded popularity look magnetic, complicated, and far more protective than it appeared. Thelma Evans is the brilliant, sharp-tongued daughter whose striking beauty and alert energy provide a wonderful, active contrast to her brother's chaotic schemes. Bernadette Stanis, born December 22, 1953, was 20 when the show was released in 1974, giving the household narrative its most elegant face. Thelma is proud, highly ambitious, and determined to pursue her education despite the limitations of the ghetto, navigating the family's ups and downs with a natural, unpolished warmth. Stanis played her with a passionate, youthful intensity that perfectly balanced grace with street-smart toughness. Today, at 72 years old, she has transitioned from a beloved television icon into a successful author writing several books, focused on family relationships and her personal journey as a caregiver during her mother's battle with Alzheimer's disease. Her active late career chapter sees her establishing a prominent foundation to raise awareness for dementia, proving her vast creative and humanitarian range. Thelma Evans endures because Bernadette Stanis made teenage ambition look brilliant, graceful, and deeply authentic. Michael Evans is the fiery, rebellious young activist whose wild eagerness to fight for social justice makes him the political muscle and emotional brain of the new generation. Ralph Carter, born May 30, 1961, was 12 when the series premiered in 1974, and his clean-cut looks and restless energy gave the family its most volatile dynamic. Michael starts out bold, reckless, and desperate to join the civil rights movement, constantly challenging authority figures with a sharp, deadpan precision that made his personal growth a deeply moving highlight of the story. Carter played him with an open, breathless fervor that beautifully captured the spiritual desperation of a changing nation. Today, at 65 years old, his legacy looks back at a journey that began as a highly acclaimed Broadway prodigy, earning a Tony Award nomination for his spectacular work in the musical Raisin before bringing his talents to television. Following his time on the show, he shifted his focus back toward live theater musical performance and community organizing, maintaining a deeply respected path away from the commercial Hollywood noise. His quiet dedication to his roots reflected a generation of steady professional stage contract players. Michael Evans endures because Ralph Carter made young bravado feel urgent, intellectual, and fatally dedicated to a better future. Keith Anderson is the steady, quiet block leader or neighborhood coordinator, whose brief appearances help establish the social boundaries of the community during high-stakes local crises. Ben Powers, born in 1950, was 24 when he brought his charismatic, handsome presence to the series, giving the neighborhood narrative an indispensable romantic anchor as Thelma's eventual devoted husband. Keith is protective, hard-working, and completely dedicated to pursuing his dream of playing professional football, navigating the family's ups and downs with a natural, unpolished warmth. Powers played the role with a smooth, athletic stability that perfectly balanced masculine tenderness with street-smart ambition, turning a major new relationship into a deeply moving highlight of the show. Powers died on April 6, 2015 at 64 from natural causes, concluding a deeply rich journey centered on performance music and community connection. Following his definitive time in the apartment, he maintained a highly active career across classic television and film, notably starring in Cujo: The New Odd Couple, and showcasing his incredible versatility as a prominent stand-up comedian and singer. Standing far away from the commercial Hollywood noise in his later years, his path reflected a generation of multi-talented performers who prioritized artistic honesty over mainstream industry glamour. Keith Anderson endures because Ben Powers made everyday devotion feel memorable, useful, and quietly enduring. Nathan Bookman is the round, easily flustered apartment superintendent whose high-pressure worries about building maintenance and local gossip are completely disrupted by the Evans family's chaotic energy. Johnny Brown, born June 11, 1937, was 36 when he brought his magnificent vocal authority and veteran comedic swagger to the series, providing a brilliant counterweight to the family's quiet cool. Bookman is cynical, completely transactional, and easily swayed by fear, yet his underlying loyalty surfaces when the stakes rise and his neighbors are cornered. Brown played the part with a refined, deadpan timing that turned a standard bureaucrat into pure comedic gold. Brown died on March 2, 2022 at 84 from a sudden cardiac arrest, closing out a spectacular award-winning television and musical legacy built on sharp intellect and broad humor. A versatile singer, impressionist, and alumnus of Rowan and Martin's Laugh-In, his booming voice and deep understanding of physical comedy made him a staple of Golden Age entertainment for over 3 decades. His ability to move seamlessly between heavy dramatic realism musical theater and broad comedy made him a beloved staple. Nathan Bookman endures because Johnny Brown made petty authority feel realistic, sharp, and brilliantly funny. Carl Dixon is the smooth, deeply intellectual shop owner whose calm, patriarchal peace provides a warm sanctuary for Florida during her darkest days of grief, welcoming her into his life with a traditional honor. Moses Gunn, born October 2, 1929, was 47 when he brought his sharp, commanding features and polished, dramatic energy to his memorable guest appearances in 1977. Carl is cultured, strict, and demands absolute respect, bringing a genuine dramatic weight and polished gravity to a world of pure sitcom farce. Gunn played him with a straight, aristocratic stiffness that made his eventual romantic connection with Florida land with maximum emotional force. Gunn died on December 17, 1993 at 64 from complications of asthma, concluding an extraordinarily prolific career that successfully crossed classic Shakespearean theater, film, and television. A true titan of the arts, he co-founded the Negro Ensemble Company, earned a Tony Award nomination for The Valiant, and starred in masterpieces like Shaft Roots and The Never-Ending Story. His sharp face and resonant voice made him one of the most recognizable character actors of his generation. Carl Dixon endures because Moses Gunn brought the absolute weight of a distinguished dramatic era to the project apartments. Henry Evans is a strict authority figure or local official who appears as a brief face of institutional power, but Richard Ward makes him feel like part of a volatile system that does not need much screen time to look impressive. Richard Ward, born January 1, 1915, was 61 when he brought his weathered, reliable presence to the apartment formations, bringing a straightforward realism that made the community's plight feel deeply believable. In a world about survival and daily conquest, even the smallest authority figures matter, creating the rhythm of danger orders given quickly and lives treated as cheap pieces in a violent machine. Ward played his roles with a hard, unblinking intensity that made his presence feel entirely credible. Ward died on July 1, 1979 at 64 from a sudden heart attack, concluding an extraordinarily towering international career that bridged the highest levels of classic theater, radio, and early cinema. A former detective and legendary character actor, he lent his sharp intellect and incredible character versatility to masterpieces like The Jerk Across 110th Street and extensive stage productions before his journey was cut short. His presence always guaranteed a high level of artistic prestige. Henry Evans endures because Richard Ward made even a small moment of systemic menace feel blunt, controlled, and completely believable. Mr. Pearson is an eccentric, easily flustered citizen who finds himself completely caught in the middle of a high-stakes cultural standoff when the parents arrive. Ron Glass, born July 10, 1945, was 28 when he made his memorable guest appearance in 1974. Showcasing a natural, vibrant energy that fit perfectly inside the urban landscape. He is sharp-tongued, highly intellectual, and looks at the sudden outbreak of domestic tension with the quiet, deadpan weariness of an ordinary professional trying to maintain a straight exterior. Glass brought a wonderfully sharp, energetic presence to the screen, holding his own against the show's established golden leads. Glass died on November 25th, 2016 at 71 from respiratory failure, closing out a spectacular award-winning television and cinematic legacy built on sharp intellect and emotional restraint. Shortly after leaving the apartment behind, he achieved permanent global pop culture immortality as the suave detective Ron Harris on the hit series Barney Miller, and later earned cult status as Shepard Darrellbook in the sci-fi masterpiece Firefly. His long, active late-career chapter saw him performing extensive voice work and philanthropy, proving his vast creative range. Mr. Pearson endures because Ron Glass made intellectual authority feel magnetic, complicated, and far more fragile than it appeared. Ned the Wino is the gentle, drifting street philosopher whose quiet swagger and easy humor turn a neighborhood tragedy into a beautiful lesson on community compassion. Raymond Allen, born March 5, 1929, was 45 when he brought his distinctively gravelly voice and veteran comedic energy to the set in 1974. Ned is relaxed, entirely unbothered by theatrical grandstanding, and completely comfortable letting his quick wit speak for him, winning the immediate sympathy of the audience. Allen played the character with a wonderful lean gravity that turned a man of few resources into an absolute fan favorite. Allen died on August 10, 2020 at 91 from respiratory illness, leaving behind a highly respected, steady career built on playing reliable character roles across golden age television. Viewers remember his distinctively expressive face from landmarks like Sanford and Son, where he played the iconic Uncle Woody and What's Happening. His ability to inject a soulful, protective warmth into characters who represented the grittiest side of urban survival kept him active for decades. Ned the Wino endures because Raymond Allen made unassuming modesty feel memorable, useful, and quietly enduring. Hortense Dobbs is the stern, highly traditional relative whose occasional strict visits to the neighborhood force Florida into a frantic, high-stakes panic to keep her own chaotic household looking completely respectable. Alice Ghostley, born August 14, 1923, was 53 when she brought her sharp, angular features and polished, dramatic energy to her memorable guest appearances in 1977, providing a wonderful, starched contrast to the show's domestic madness. She is an unblinking authority figure whose presence always leaves the local residents walking on eggshells, completely dismissive of any domestic shortcuts that don't fit her old-fashioned rules. Ghostley played her with a sharp, deadpan intensity that made her character's internal conflict deeply human. Ghostley died on September 21, 2007, at 84 from colon cancer, closing out a monumental historic life as one of the hardest-working and most prolific character actresses in American entertainment. A Tony Award-winning stage star for The Sign in Sidney Brustein's Window, she achieved permanent global pop culture immortality as Esmeralda on Bewitched, and later shown as Bernice Clifton on Designing Women. Her sharp wit, distinctively eccentric voice, and profound dramatic talent made her one of her generation's most revered performers. Hortense Dobbs endures because Alice Ghostley made strict, uncompromising judgment feel flawed, human, and harder to dismiss than simple cruelty. Kim is one more face in the neighborhood's brutal human mosaic, a silent child protector whose presence helps remind us that the survival of the community is a collective effort. Kim Fields, born May 12, 1969, was only 8 when she lent her clean-cut, reliable presence to the apartment formations in 1977. Though her early guest appearance is brief, her character matters because every face in the line helps build the illusion of community courage before the daily hardships break through the gates. Fields played her part with a straightforward, watchful stability that helped populate the background with genuine tension. Today, at 57 years old, her transition from a brilliant child prodigy into a massive television icon stands tall after achieving permanent global pop culture immortality as Tootie Ramsey on the smash hit series The Facts of Life, and later starring as Regine Hunter on the landmark comedy Living Single. Beyond her historic leading roles, she became a highly successful director and producer, shaping Hollywood imagery behind the camera for a new generation of performers. Her long, active journey proved that real creative power is creating a legacy that outlasts an era. Kim endures because Kim Fields turned a brief moment in front of the lens into a lifelong legacy of shaping how the world sees television. Uncle Wilbert is the proud, dignified foreign relative whose arrival at the apartment brings a moment of genuine mutual respect to a world built on survival. Louis Gossett Jr., born May 27, 1936, was 38 when he brought his magnificent athletic physique and silent authority to the set in 1974. Though his screen time is brief, his character matters because his firm guidance establishes a just and capable leadership long before the family encounters their next major crisis. Gossett played the role with a regal, quiet poise that effortlessly commanded the screen without demanding excessive dialogue, bringing a classic weight to the biblical camp. Gossett died on March 29, 2024, at 87, remembered as a pioneering black actor and a powerful, indispensable mountain in American cinema. Shortly after his ride through the apartment, he achieved massive historic stardom, winning an Emmy Award for the groundbreaking masterpiece Roots, and later winning an Academy Award for his definitive performance in An Officer and a Gentleman. His immense physical presence, soulful eyes, and raw artistic honesty made him a favorite of dramatic directors for decades. Uncle Wilbert endures because Louis Gossett Jr. brought the absolute weight of an entire cinematic era to the mountaintop. Diana Buchanan was a brief face of urban authority, but Debbie Allen makes her feel like part of a volatile system that does not need much screen time to look impressive. Allen, born January 16, 1950, was 26 when the show was airing in 1976, and she brought the role a stern, grounded energy that would later become one of her signatures. In an environment about survival and conquest, even the smallest authority figures matter, creating the rhythm of danger orders given quickly, and lives treated as cheap pieces in a violent machine. Allen played her with a hard, unblinking intensity that made her presence feel entirely credible. Today, at 76 years old, she has built a monumental historic life as one of the hardest-working and most prolific creative forces in American entertainment history. A legendary choreographer, director, and actress, she achieved permanent global immortality as Lydia Grant in the smash hit franchise Fame, earned multiple Emmy Awards, and directed dozens of foundational dramatic features across network television, including Grey's Anatomy. Her immense adaptability and dedication to her craft reframed her legacy for a new generation of performers. Diana Buchanan endures because Debbie Allen made even a small moment of urban menace feel blunt, controlled, and completely believable. Lenella Gordon is the cold, deeply resentful figure whose dangerous presence sits like a ticking bomb at the heart of the neighborhood, unleashing a cycle of pain out of pure internal misery. Chip Fields, born August 5, 1951, was 26 when she brought her sharp, sinister intensity to the apartment shadows in 1977. She is resentful, watchful, and completely dedicated to her own transactional survival, treating her child with a casual, predatory detachment that makes her eventual defeat at the hands of Willona a highly satisfying turning point. Fields played the character with a hard, unblinking venom that made her brief scenes feel incredibly tense and dangerous. Today, at 74 years old, she has achieved a deeply rich, multifaceted Hollywood life that stretched far beyond her time in front of the camera, working extensively as a prominent director, dialogue coach, and consultant for hit television series. As the real-life mother of co-star Kim Fields, her transition behind the camera allowed her to shape Hollywood imagery and nurture young talent in a completely different way, moving seamlessly between heavy dramatic realism and intense genre projects. Lenella Gordon endures because Chip Fields made Malice feel sharp, cold, and utterly terrifying. Head was a brief face of urban authority, but T.K. Carter makes him feel like part of a volatile system that does not need much screen time to look impressive. Carter, born December 18, 1956, was 20 when he made his memorable appearance in 1976, showcasing a natural, vibrant energy that fit perfectly inside the urban landscape. He is bright, fiercely expressive, and completely comfortable navigating the high-stakes world of neighborhood tension with an effortless, smiling confidence. Carter brought a wonderfully sharp, energetic presence to the screen, holding his own against the show's established golden leads. Carter died on January 9, 2026, at 69 from natural causes, leaving behind an incredibly rich career as one of America's most reliable and recognizable character actors across cinema and television. Viewers know his distinctively intense face from landmarks like John Carpenter's sci-fi masterpiece, The Thing Back to School, and his starring role in the sitcom Good Morning, Miss Bliss. His ability to move seamlessly between heavy, dramatic realism crime sagas and broad comedy made him a beloved staple of the Golden Age. Head endures because T.K. Carter turned a brief town confrontation into a loud, unforgettable glimpse of pure star power. Weeping, Wanda Williams is the sharp-tongued, easily flustered citizen who finds herself completely caught in the middle of a high-stakes apartment standoff when the family arrives. Helen Martin, born February 8, 1909, was 65 when she brought her distinctively gravelly voice and veteran comedic energy to the set in 1974. She is tired, watchful, and looks at the sudden outbreak of domestic tension with the quiet, deadpan weariness of an ordinary neighbor who just wants to see the local drama unfold from a safe distance. Martin played the role with a wonderful, watchful intensity that turned a routine neighborhood encounter into a memorable highlight of pure situational tension. Martin died on March 25, 2000 at 91 from a sudden heart attack, concluding a monumental historic life that spanned over 6 decades of absolute acting excellence across Broadway and cinema. A legendary method actress and a founding member of the American Negro Theater, she achieved permanent global pop culture immortality decades later as Pearl Shea on the smash hit series 227 and starred in Don't Be a Menace. Her immense adaptability kept her actively performing well into her late 80s. Weeping, Wanda Williams endures because Helen Martin made everyday urban exasperation look brilliantly funny, sharp, and deeply authentic. The grand procession has passed. The project apartments have cleared across the hills, and the massive plaster sets of old Hollywood have long faded into memory. But Good Times never truly relinquishes its permanent nostalgia-fueled grip on global pop culture. Those magnificent faces and colorful clothes were operating on a scale that modern cinema rarely attempts, turning a classic tale of urban survival into a spectacular showcase of pure theatrical force and cinematic cool. Some of the cast became permanent monuments of Hollywood glory. Some found a quiet peace far away from the cameras, and all of them proved that real cinematic power is creating a myth that outlasts empires. If this journey back to the city pulled you into the golden age, stay tuned for more then and now stories where the decades pass but the legends never fully disappear.